I'm Eric Wolf, and my experience in business peer groups has changed my life, especially my membership in Vistage, one of the world's largest CEO advisory groups. I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner, and a Vistage speaker on the power of marketing. This podcast is dedicated to the people who make those experiences possible, the peer group chairs. Every episode, I interview a Vistage Chair who has dedicated their time to helping entrepreneurs like me succeed. My guest today is Mark Taylor, who joins us from New York City. And before we get started, Mark, you are officially the 50th episode of this podcast.
Wow.
You see, you are, it is an honor to have you with us today because, I've done 50 of these. They haven't kicked me off the internet yet. So thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So we'll give like a little bit of your background here. You are widely considered one of the most accomplished Vistage chairs around. You've got a fantastic reputation. You're doing it all in the middle of New York City. You've got a bunch of which in itself is sort of a challenge. It's the New York test. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. I would love to hear about, and I know a little bit about you, even though this is the first time we've met in person or quasi in person. We've been LinkedIn friends for a couple of years, so I've gotten to know you through that. I'd love to hear your story and how you ended up. What the career arc was that took you to Vistage ultimately.
It actually started by starting my second company. My first company failed miserably that I started in 1973. Within 6 months, I had lost everything. And I had dropped out of college to start that company. So I thought, well, it must be because I don't have a college education that I failed. I'm from Detroit. And, where I'm from, the neighborhood I'm from, hardly anyone went to college. They went to work for Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler as factory rats because you could make more money in the factory than you could go into college. So why go to college? But I heard so many stories from my neighbors, from the older brothers and from the fathers, and I'd see them come home from work and drink six-pack after six-pack sitting on the front porch and talk about how much they hated working there and how they hid from their boss and counting the days until their next vacation, that I thought, I got to go to college. But my family wasn't in any condition to pay for me to go to college, so I had to do it the old-fashioned way, and I started working at McDonald's flipping hamburgers, and one day I saw an ad in the paper for a job that you could wear a suit and tie, and you didn't smell like fried hamburgers all day, so I took that job.
So you traded in your McJob.
Yes, so I took that job, and I was quite successful at it, and one day the boss asked me if I wanted to own my own company, and I said sure. So at 19 years of age, I started my first company, and I dropped out of college, and it failed within 6 months. So
what was the first company, by the way?
It was called the Taylor Fire Systems, or the Taylor Fire Protection Company.
Okay.
And we sold fire alarms door to door.
Gotcha.
Got it?
All right, I'm with you.
So I went to work for corporate America, and I climbed up the ranks in corporate America, but I wasn't really happy there. My wife kept on saying, "You're not happy." I gained maybe 50 pounds. I was drinking every day. I was smoking 3 to 5 packs of cigarettes a day. She says, "You're going to kill yourself." And she said, "Why don't you go back into business? At least you were happy there." And I was so afraid of failure that I said, we have 3 kids now. We have, a house and 2 cars. I mean, we just can't afford to fail. And she was completely supportive and said, we're still young. We'll recover no matter what happens. I believe in you. And so I started my second company, and I wasn't going to let it fail. I was working from 7 in the morning until 10, 11 o'clock at night. It I never got a chance to see my wife and kids. I was the micromanager on steroids. I checked every line of code. I checked every single sales proposal. I went on every sales call. I checked every single invoice. There was no mistakes that were going to be made this time. One day, my CPA said, have you ever heard of this organization called Vistage? I said, no. And he said, you spend a day working on your business versus in your business? I said, a day working on my business? You got to be nuts. I don't have a day to spend with my
I don't have
family.
a day.
Yeah,
Get out
exactly.
of here.
Yes. So he said, Mark, that's exactly why you should go to a meeting and check it out. You're too much in the weeds. So I took his advice. I went to a meeting. I heard a speaker that was on scaling your business. And one of the things that he said was that 96% of all businesses are less than $1 million in revenue. I thought, wow, I thought businesses were a lot bigger than that. I was already over $1 million worth of revenue. And he said less than a half of 1% ever hit 10 million in revenue. And that was what I wanted to get to. And he said the reason why is completely predictable. It's the failure of the CEO to hire an executive team. It's the failure of the CEO to let go. I thought, that's me. So I joined Vistage in 1995. I hired an executive team. I learned to be a CEO. I got my life back. I learned how to manage the company. I learned about KPIs. I was able to get home by 6 o'clock at night and see my family. I was able to take long weekends. I was able to take vacations for the first time in 5 years, and it changed my life. And when I sold that company in 2005, I decided I wanted to be a Vistage Chair because I wanted to help other business owners because I know how hard it is. I know what a struggle it is. I know what the sacrifices that they have to make.
That's such a cool story.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. What was the second business? What did you do?
It was called the Taylor Systems Engineering Corporation. It,
Okay.
I did go back to college. The one benefit of corporate America was that they had a college educational
Okay.
reimbursement program. So I went to college at night for 4 years. I got my bachelor's degree, and I thought, well, I didn't really learn why I failed. So I overeducated myself. I got an MBA. I got a master's in leadership, and I've done a gazillion leadership courses since then. But this company was like Travelocity for shipping packages. So if you wanted to ship this cup from here to you, it would tell you UPS, FedEx, the Postal Service, who would get it there the fastest, at what price, and at what guarantee.
Gotcha. Very cool. So now you're about 20 years into your journey as a Vistage Chair,
Yes.
and you've gotten recognized with a number of awards, including the Cope Lifetime Achievement Award, which is the highest honor that a Vistage Chair can receive. So, what do you think has contributed to your success as a chair? What has made these last 20 years so special for you?
I think what really contributed to my success was during COVID. I picked up a book called Positive Intelligence, and I read the book and I thought, wow, this makes a lot of sense. I mean, to me, it was like EOS for positive thinking or
It's like
psychology.
EOS for your brain.
Yeah, it really was. And I contacted the author, and they had a 6 week training. I did the training, and I thought this was great. And they had a coach certification program, so I did the 1 year coach certification program. I became the first Vistage Chair that was certified in positive intelligence, and I
Oh, how
introduced
cool.
Shirzad, the author, to Sam Reese, our CEO, and he did a program for the executive team. I introduced it to all the chairs that I could talk to, and now I think over 500 chairs have done the positive intelligence training. We brought Shirzad in to do a keynote at our annual chair conference, and I did it with every single one of my members. I'm doing a course right now with members. I do it 2 or 3 times every single year, and my members say that this course has changed their lives. It's one of the most significant personal and professional things that they've ever done, and just helping them in those days deal with COVID and now deal with all the uncertainty that we're dealing with. Just it's the mental
Right.
mindset, being able to consciously reduce stress levels that has made such an impact in their lives. And I think it was one of the reasons I think that they selected me for the COPE Award, because it made a big impact on our Vistage community.
I did. I recently did the 6 week positive intelligence. And yes, it is transformative, and it's everything that you just said it was. It's very very meaningful, and I would definitely encourage folks to check it out. One of the things that I love about following you on LinkedIn is you tell a lot of stories. And there was one story that I can remember that you told that was sort of a time that was transformative for you, and it had to do with you mowing people's lawns. Could you could I trouble you to tell that story because I really enjoyed it. Right.
I have to remember the story, but basically, I remember mowing a lawn, and it wasn't done all of the way. Like halfway, half. I don't know if I can say that, but halfway. And the person I was mowing the lawn for didn't pay me, and I said, look, I did the job, and they pointed out all the areas that I didn't do the job, and they said that I pay for a fully mowed lawn, not for a half done job. Is that the story you remember?
I do, and but the idea being that it was not the job that they wanted. It was the outcome that they wanted, and it's like, hey, I'm paying you for this outcome, and I love that story because I feel like it's something that business owners struggle with, even understanding the difference between a good job and a bad job, or a job that delivers on a promise and one that doesn't. But the idea that the thing that we're trying to invest in is an outcome rather than an effort is, I think, a lesson that a lot of people find it hard to learn.
Yeah. So I learned
What
that
types of
early, and it was
yeah,
been a useful lesson for me.
I imagine it has. So real quick, you've got a number of groups. Two CEO groups. You've got two inside groups, which are always fun to talk about. Key exec group, a trusted advisor group, and you have a chair group as well. What's it like? How different is it for you putting on the the correct hat to to do all of the switching between the different types of folks that you're talking to over the course of any given month?
I mean, I don't find it difficult. Yesterday, I did a full day workshop with Severin Sorensen, one of our speakers that wrote, I think, 9 best-selling books on artificial intelligence. We had 90 people show up from mostly members in their companies, and I had my trusted advisor meeting stacked right after it. So I had to go from facilitating and helping him with that workshop to running my trusted advisor meeting. And it
Right.
was a long day, but you just look at what your members need, and you change and adapt to whatever their needs are.
What's the thing that makes you get out of bed in the morning? You're obviously extraordinarily busy with all of the things that you do. What's the thing that motivates you to keep doing it after 20 years? What's that thing that you love that's been, your fire, your energy?
I mean, I love that I make a difference. Yesterday's workshop, I've already received 5 emails from people saying that this was a life altering workshop. Just looking at the impact that artificial intelligence is having now and is going to have into the future. And that I'm the person that can bring that message, not personally, just by being the orchestrator of bringing people together, like the great speakers that we have that impact people, help people, make a difference in how they run their business. I mean, I believe in our mission to increase the effectiveness of our members and to enhance our lives. And that's the fire in my belly. It happened for me as a result of being a Vistage member, and I want to carry that flame and bring it to my members as well.
Do you have and it could be that you don't see a difference, but you live in New York City, and how long have you been there?
20 years.
Wow, there you go. So you've been and I've been gone for more than 20 years, but New York City is sort of it's a different kind of place.
It definitely is
It
different.
is there are unique challenges about living and working in New York that you don't get in other parts of the country. And I imagine that the experience of your team or your group members, I imagine that there are things that they come in with that maybe they're challenged with in a way because they live in New York. That's different than how other folks deal with it. Do you find do you find that there's like a very New Yorkness about the kinds of things that you guys are processing, or how? I just imagine it being a little bit different because New York is a different place.
It definitely is different. I'm, from Michigan, so I moved from a house that my bedroom was bigger than our first apartment here. I'm from
Right.
Detroit. I've had a car since I was 15 years old. To not having a car now for 20 years, that was huge. To having a Starbucks on every single corner versus having to get in my car and drive a half an hour to a Starbucks. So the
Right.
culture is very different, and I think that really has helped me in New York because I'm not your typical New Yorker. They tend to talk a lot faster. Sometimes they can get
And
in
a lot
your
louder.
face. Yes, and the issues that they face, I think, are unique. I have a couple members that come from New Jersey because they want to be part of a Manhattan group. I mean, it's moving fast. These are some of the smartest and fastest growing companies in the United States, and I mean, for me, it's just this pure excitement and joy of working with them on a daily basis and helping them with their challenges and their concerns. And it's not necessarily me, but connecting them to other people in the group. I think that's the biggest lesson I learned as a chair was that I didn't have to have the answers. That my job was really to facilitate the wisdom in the room and helping connect them so that
Right.
they can resolve their challenges and move to higher levels.
When I'm really fascinated, and I love the concept of the Vistage inside groups. And it was through this podcast that I first learned that they existed. But and I've talked to a number of chairs that have Vistage inside groups, and you've got two of them.
I have too.
What is what is the thing that you enjoy most in the Vistage inside groups? For anybody who is uninformed, is that it's a Vistage group, but it happens inside of a company with the leadership team at the company instead of instead of the typical Vistage CEO or key executive group where you've got 15 people in the room representing 15 different businesses. What's the draw for you, and what do you like about that environment?
I like the opportunity to have a greater influence on the entire team. I love working with CEOs, and most of my CEOs have their key executives in my key executive group. So I'll get a perspective from the CEO, I'll get another perspective from the key executive. But when you're working with the CEO and an executive team all at the same time, you're if you can create the safety environment, you can get those multiple perspectives and influence and impact the company in a much greater way.
Gotcha. Do you find that how do you create in an inside group? Because you've got to have in any Vistage group, safety is obviously emotional safety is a big part of what goes on. But there's something additional at stake in an inside group where you go to your meeting, and then the next day these people all have to go back to work with each other. How do you create that emotional safety where people aren't afraid to share what's really on their mind?
We talk about it. I mean, we talk about creating it. First, I think that the type of a CEO that's going to have this type of a group is already open and wants that type of
Sure.
feedback and wants his team to learn. So I think we're already working with a group or a company that that's forward thinking, that isn't what you hear about as far as the typical type of companies where it's impossible. So they're already open for it, and we talk about it,
Right.
and we set boundaries in our first meetings and ground rules so that what we say stays in this room, that it doesn't go out into middle managers and other managers in the room, that this is a place for us to, similar to EOS, identify, discuss, and solve issues that they may be experiencing, and to bring in expert speakers that can help them elevate their leadership and optimize their organization.
It's really terrific, and it's a great concept. And I think about way back in the day when I worked in corporate, how great it would have been to have this sort of environment inside the company where, I mean, and not only is it helping to deal with issues and figure out problems, but it's also a terrific way to invest in professional development, which I also love about the Vistage Inside program.
Yes, it is. I mean, I feel fortunate to have the groups that I have, and I love working with the people that are in those groups. It's, people say, what group do you love better? And it's like, my wife had 5 children in her family, and her mom used to say, it's like my fingers. I love them all equally. I wouldn't want to do, there's no favorite there.
Yeah, but hold on a second. You love let's be truthful about it though. You love the thumb more.
I don't know. Do I?
Because look, I mean, you could, I mean, I could lose my pinky, but I can still do some stuff if I've got my thumb. Without the thumb, the whole thing gets a little less useful. I don't know.
Maybe it's not a
But no,
good.
I understand it. No, I get it. It's yeah. Who's your favorite? I totally understand. Before I let you go, I would love to ask you about. You've got a book, and you've also done a TED talk. I would love to hear about those things and how that factors into your practice as a chair.
The the TED Talk was really about the power of triads, and I think it's again something that makes my chair practice unique. Is when I just started becoming a chair, I worked. I don't know if you've heard of the book Tribal Leadership by Dave Logan and John King.
I have heard of it. Have not read it, but I have heard of it.
So I again heard a podcast, liked it, contacted the authors, did their 6 week or 8 week training program, whatever it was, got more involved, and I actually became one of their trainers, training hundreds of coaches in this methodology. And the book was based on Dave Logan's PhD, where he did a research over 24,000 people, and he categorized them into 5 different stages of development. At stage 3, which is where 49% of organizations are, there's the typical competitiveness that you see in an organization. And at stage 3, one of the unique things that he found in his research is that they had one-to-one meetings with people. At stage 4, they found that it was 3 to 5 times more productive, and they didn't have one-to-ones. They met in groups of 3. And 3 is, not necessarily could be 3 or 4, but it was basically small groups. And I thought that was very interesting. And I was just going through my chair training, and I was working with John King, the co-author of the book, and he said, Mark, why are you going to meet with your CEOs one-to-one when we know that stage 3 is what we're trying to promote is a culture, a we culture versus an I culture? And I said, that makes sense. So I went to my members, and I said, I know that you get these one-to-ones, but how many of you would be interested in trying this new concept, triads? These are the benefits. And I explained it to them. About half of them said, our one-to-ones are sacred. We would never change. We love you. And the other half said, hey, we'll give it a try. By the end of 6 months, almost every member of my group asked if they could be in a triad because they heard so many stories about the triads. I mean, I believe that leaders are in the business of making decisions, and the benefit of Vistage is that we provide that peer group experience. As a coach, and I think I'm a pretty good coach. I'm going to ask questions, but I'm not going to give you multiple perspectives. When you put three CEOs together, and it's just like issue
Right.
processing. Each of them brings an issue, a challenge, a question, or a decision, and they're getting perspectives from two other CEOs, and I'm facilitating the conversation so it doesn't get off the rails. They get a lot of value from that, and that's what they appreciate about the triad. So that's what my TED Talk's about, is the power of three.
I I like that a lot, and so curious. So when you've got your group and you're doing the triads, how long do those triads stay together?
Well, that's part of the challenge, is that I have triads that I think have been together for 5 years, that they just love one another, and the only time they leave is when somebody sells their company and moves on. And I've even had
Sure.
triads where somebody was thinking about selling their company, and I brought back old members and got them to go into a triad with them as they go through the process. I mean, I think of it more as a tiger team. And one of the challenges that I hear as a best practice chair from many of my chairs is, how do we integrate when we have companies in the group that are like 5 million in revenue? We got companies in the group that are at 350 million in revenue. Well,
Sure.
triads is a way that I've dealt with that, because I have my three largest companies in a triad. I look for some common characteristic that they have: the three manufacturers, the three family businesses. I've had three women in a triad, something that ties them together where they have a common interest that really helps them, gives them a space to process their issues on a monthly basis and to get multiple perspectives.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Mark, thank you so much for joining me. This was really terrific. Um, really enjoyed really enjoyed hearing about you and all the things that make your group special. I love the triad concept. That's really really cool. What's the best way if folks want to get in touch, have questions about your group, have questions about your coaching, the book you've written, what your opinion is on the best place to get pizza in Manhattan? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
I on LinkedIn every single day. So LinkedIn is a great way. If you search Mark Taylor and Vistage, I think I'm the only one that shows up there. I have a website, marktaylor.nyc. I couldn't get marktaylor.com, so make sure you do Mark Taylor NYC. Or you could email me, mark@marktaylor.nyc.
Very cool. Thank you so much for being a great guest, and thank you for being my 50th guest, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Eric. You too.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Chairwaves. You can subscribe to our feed using Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your platform of choice. You can also visit chairwaves.com for more information. Chairwaves is hosted and produced by me, Eric Wolf, and to connect with me, you can visit my website at ewolf.live. That's EWOLF.live. And a disclaimer: while I love Vistage and CEO peer groups, this podcast is not owned by or affiliated with Vistage or any other peer organization. Thanks for listening.